Good morning, dear student. Myself, Mukunda Borah, TGT Social Science from Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, going to discuss Ncert Class 8 Geography Chapter 1 Resources. What are resources? Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs or has value is called as resources. Water, electricity, vegetables, and textbooks that you used all have utility and hence are considered as resources. Now let us see the terms that are associated with resources such as utility, value, patent, and the technology. First, the utility. A substance has utility if it can be used in any possible way to satisfy our needs. Second, value. Value means worth. Some resources have economic value and some do not. Patent. It means the exclusive right over an idea or invention. Next, technology. The application of the latest knowledge and skills in doing or making things. The time and technology are the two most important factors that can change substances into resources. So with the help of our latest technology and with the passage of time, we can use many substances from the nature and can be converted into resources. The classification of resources, the chart that you have to remember what are the different classification of the resources. The main types of resources are the natural resources, human-made resources, and human resources. These are the natural resources. How beautiful is the natural resources? Okay, so many things we are getting from the nature. Natural resources. The resources that are drawn from the nature and used without much modification are called natural resources. Air, water, soil, minerals, all are natural resources. Natural resources are classified into different groups depending upon their level of development and uses, origin, renewability, and distribution. So on the basis of origin, we have biotic and abiotic. On the basis of renewability or exhaustibility, we have renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of distribution, we will get localized and ubiquitous. And on the basis of uses and development or the status of development, we have potential, develop, stock, and the reserve. Okay, so this is the chart that you have to know regarding the resources. Okay, so potential resource, actual resource, reserve resource, and stock resource. So mainly in your book you are going to get about the potential resource and the actual resource. So first, on the basis of the level of development and the uses, we are getting actual resource and potential resource. So what is actual resource? Those resource whose quantity is known. The resources are being used in the present. For example, the coal of Germany, petroleum in West Asian countries are the actual resources. So that are the developed resources that has been using at the present time. The resources has been known and it has been using also in the present time. The potential resource, those resources whose entire quantity may not be known. These are not being used at the present and could be used in the future. For example, the uranium in Ladakh. So potential resources are those resources whose quantity is not known to us, but in the future it can be used. These are the actual resource. So the oil explorations, the coal mining, which has been using in the present time, the coal fields, oil fields, okay, offshore, we are getting the oil from offshore, onshore. So all which are getting the resources, they are the actual resource, okay. And another is the potential resource, the resource which are found in a region but it has been not been utilized, but in the near future it can be used. The next, on the basis of origin, biotic resource and abiotic resource. Biotic resource that obtained from the biosphere, they have life. For example, human beings, flora and fauna, fish, fisheries, livestock, etc. And abiotic resources composed of non-living things, for example, rocks, metals, etc. Okay, on the basis of origin, biotic and abiotic, living and non-living part. Okay, so living part, you know what are the things comes under the biotic part: plants, animals, fungus, bacteria, everything comes under the biotic. And the non-living things includes the abiotic part, such as water, soil, air, minerals, and light, which do not have life. Next, we are going to see the natural resource on the basis of renewability, that is renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources are the renewable or replaceable resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical, or mechanical process. For example, solar and wind energy, water, forests, and the wildlife, etc. Renewable resources may further be divided into continuous or follow resource, for example, wind, water. Non-renewable resources are formed over a substantially long geological time, for example, minerals and the fossil fuels, and this again can be divided into recyclable resources, for example, metal, then non-recyclable resource, for example, fossil fuels, which cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their uses. Okay, so these are the renewable resource that derive from the natural process that are refilled constantly. So solar energy, wind energy, rainwater, ocean energy, geothermal energy, hydro power energy, then bioenergy, these are the renewable resources. Then these are the non-renewable resources. Okay, nuclear energy, oil, gas, coal. So once we have been used it, this has been finished again. Okay, we cannot be reused. Only one time use, or maybe take long time to renew it again. So we can take the two forms of water. One is a renewable resource and another one is non-renewable. Both are the liquid. Water is a renewable resource that is also liquid. Then another liquid is a petroleum, but petroleum is a non-renewable resources. Then the next is on the basis of distribution, ubiquitous and localized. Ubiquitous resources are found everywhere on the earth, such as land, water, air are the ubiquitous resources. So this has been found everywhere on the earth. Then localized resources are those resources which are found only in certain places, for example, copper, iron, petroleum, or any types of minerals which has been not found everywhere. This has been found only on certain places. It may be due to different geomorphological conditions. Next, you are going to get human-made resources. At times, natural substances become resources only after their original form has changed. People make of natural resources to manufacture human-made resources. Human-made resources are like building bridges, roads, machineries, and vehicles. And another very good example of the human-made resource is the technology. So the things made by the human being by taking the substances from the nature, okay, are called as the human-made resources. So these are the different images that are showing the things that made by the human being are the human-made resources. Okay, the electric bulb, the train, the bridges, TV, computer, motorcycle, car, our clothes, okay, the ship, the currency, okay, so many things that has been made by human being. Next is the human resources. Human resources refers to the number, that is quantity, and ability, that is mental and physical, of the people. That is why human beings are a special resource. People are called as human resource. Improving the quality of people's skill so that they are able to create more resources is known as human resource development. So no doubt human beings are both in terms of quantity and quality, but the most important thing in the human resource is the need of the developed human resources. But for development of the human resource we need the quality. Okay, quality, people's quality, that will be developed only when we will have skill to do something or to create more resources. So these are the human resources, the image of human resources. Okay, so many things that are comes under the human resources also. Next, the most important thing in the chapter that you are going to get regarding the conserving resources. So first of all we see what is resource conservation. Using resources carefully and giving them time to get renewed is called resource conservation. So in the resource conservation, the most important concept nowadays it's important is the sustainable development. So what is sustainable development? It is the development that meets the needs of the present and also conserve them for the future. Or we can see another definition of the sustainable development, that is balancing the need to use resources and also conserve them for the future is called sustainable development. So no doubt we have to use the resources, but by meeting the present generation or the present people, we have to look for the future also. So if we will use all the resources at the present time, so in the future it may be finished. So while using the resources, we have to be see for the future also. So by looking the future, we have to develop the resource is called the sustainable development. So the most important principles of the sustainable development that we have to remember, these are: number one, respect and care for all forms of life. Number two, improve the quality of human life. Conserve the earth's vitality and diversity. Minimize the depletion of natural resources. Change personal attitude and practice towards the environment. We have to change our personal attitudes and we have to have good towards our environment and enable communities to care for their own environment. We have to care for our own environment. Okay, sustainable development, we have to save our earth, recycling, purification, so many things that we have to remember for the sake of our environment, ecosystem, eco-transportation. These are the things that will develop the resource and also that will be a part of the sustainable development. The important points that has to be remembered from this chapter are: number one, you have to know the resources. What are the resources? Then you have to know the utility, then value, patent, technology, types of resources, conservation of resources, sustainable development, etc. So I think that you have been understood this chapter. So let us take some of the questions as an homework. So note it down. Number 1, what is a resource? Number 2, how are resources classified according to their distribution? So you have to be classify the resource on the basis of their distribution. Why are human resources important? Explain the terms resources, conservation, and sustainable development. Then lastly, you have to write differentiate between the potential resource and actual resource. So lastly, I want to say something to you. Nature is not a destination, it is your home. Save water, save energy, and save our environment. In the last, we can say that save our resources. The end. Thank you and have a nice